Our presenter today is Itoro Udofia, who is the director for the UK medical devices business. He will be taking you along the journey. He's joined TUV in 2019 and has got a wealth of regulatory and technical knowledge. He's joined TUV from UL, where he was the head of the notified body. Prior to that, he worked for 9 years at BSI in a number of technical and managerial roles. And prior to that, he started his career in research and development of orthopedic devices. So without further ado, Itoro, I will hand over to you now.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. Thanks for the introduction, and welcome to everyone to this presentation. We're in interesting times. I guess that's the least way to say it, and it's really been a challenging time of the last few years for us in the medical device regulatory industry. First of all, preparing for the first date of application of MDR, to it being postponed, and now we're through with that. Now we've got to look forward to this again next year with the IVDR, and then of course there's COVID, which has devastated quite a lot of people and manufacturers and medical device business for some manufacturers. But then again, with all of that, we've got to contend with Brexit as well. So this presentation today is just trying to touch on some of the requirements from the UK's perspective and what the general expectations and what the requirements are. So since the UK has exited the EU, we've had new rules, new regulations in place for medical devices, and some of that involves the marking and registration of devices and the key players that are involved in placing products on the market in the UK. So my presentation today would touch on we'll touch on that. But as we're still going through sort of a transition period, the CE mark devices are still allowed in the UK, and in Great Britain in particular is required up until a certain period in 2023 when that requirement will cease. So we'll talk about a little bit of that as well. And again, with things not required to be so very simple, we've got an added complication with regards to requirements in Northern Ireland and Great Britain. So I'll talk again a bit about that as to what those specific requirements are and what those differences are. So before I carry on, I just want to say that the medical device regulation from the UK is likely going to change again by or after 2023. And I know that the government and MHRA consistently or frequently update the guidance that's posted. So this presentation today is based on what we currently know about the regulations and the current guidance that's available. So some things may change later on. And I know as well that we have a global audience, and not very many people are aware or understand the differences between what is the UK, Great Britain and Ireland. So I get asked this question quite a bit, but really the United Kingdom, the UK, is made up of Great Britain and Northern Ireland, whilst Great Britain is essentially 3 countries on the main island, and that's England, Scotland and Wales. So I will refer to requirements in Great Britain or GB and Northern Ireland throughout this presentation. So this gives some context as to where I'm referring to. Again, as I mentioned earlier, there are differences between the requirements in Northern Ireland and Northern Ireland maintains a land border between the UK and the and the EU, and as such, there are some customs and regulatory requirements that are still maintained. European requirements are still maintained within Northern Ireland. So again, because of that, we have some differences in the rules for bringing products into the market into the UK. The key legislation that applies in the UK to medical devices is the UK Medical Device Regulation, and that's in law and legislation as a statutory instrument. Essentially, the UK MDR has adopted the directives, the EU directives from adopted the EU directives, and so talking about the MDD, AIMD, and IVDD into different elements or parts of it. But the current requirements under the new regulations, the MDR and the IVDR will not apply. Don't apply in Great Britain for the moment. However, in Northern Ireland, it does apply, at least for the MDR for the moment. And next year, from the 26th of May next year, 2022, we will have the IVDR in place as well. So coming into Great Britain, what are the requirements in England, Scotland, and Wales? To get access into the market in Great Britain, essentially there are two routes at the moment, and this covers CE and UKCA. So UKCA, because that's the requirement now in Great Britain, and we have manufacturers from the 1st of January of this year need to comply with the UK requirements, which implies UKCA, and essentially what that means is if you're going to place a product in the market in the UK, you meet those requirements. To place the UKCA mark on your device, you need to undergo a conformity assessment with an approved body, unless it's a self-declared device. And the other route is via CE. So we have a bit of a transition period right now with within Great Britain for CE. So CE certificates and CE mark devices will continue to be recognized in Great Britain, but that's only for a relatively short period of time until June of the 30th of June of 2023. For medical devices, we're actually quite lucky because I think in other industries in the UK, this transition period is around about 12 months, and I think in one or two cases goes up to 18 months. For medical devices, we've got 2.5 years essentially since the 1st of January of this year to get to continue to have this transition into the fully UKCA. However, from the 1st of July of 2023, we will have mandatory the UKCA requirements, and so from that point on, all devices placed on the market in Great Britain must be UKCA compliant. So, before placing products on the market in the UK, all products must be registered. So that's a new requirement from the 1st of January of this year. All products must be registered with the MHRA. There is a grace period and there's a timeline for depending on the classification and risk of the device. There's a grace period for when you can register these devices, but all these devices must be registered eventually with the MHRA. And if you are a manufacturer that's located outside of the UK, then you need to appoint a UK responsible person, and that one of the key roles of that UK responsible person is to register your devices. And in terms of labeling, I'll do some more specifics later on. But in terms of labeling, the UKCA mark can be used on devices. You can use that label, but only after it's undergone assessment by a UK approved body. In the UK, or actually in Great Britain, dual labeling is acceptable. So you can have CE as well as UKCA marks on your devices. But please note, having a UKCA mark or having undergone conformity assessment by a UK approved body doesn't necessarily give you access, will not give you access into Europe, and it won't give you access or won't be recognized in Northern Ireland either. So I mentioned earlier that all devices must be registered with the MHRA in Great Britain. And I also mentioned about the grace period. So this chart just sort of shows what the grace period are and the different dates for the classification for the devices. So for the higher risk devices, the class 3 devices, Annex 2 list A devices, and to be implantable devices, they all needed to have been registered, should have been registered by now, by the 30th of April of this year. So from the 1st of May, all class 3 high-risk devices need to have been registered with the MHRA. Got the medium risk devices need to be registered by the 1st of September, and the low risk self-declared devices need to be registered with the MHRA by the 31st of December of 2021. If you've failed to register your devices on the market, they can't be placed on the market in Great Britain. So it's important that they you get registered with the MHRA. If you're located outside of the UK, then you must appoint a UK responsible person to do that registration for you. All products that have been registered with the MHRA will also become available to the public. So there's a public access database which will give the manufacturer's name, the address, the device, the type of device classification, and the various GMDN types as well for the relevant devices that are covered by that manufacturer. Okay, and yeah, as I mentioned earlier as well, that the people responsible for registration would be the manufacturer, who's based in the UK, or the UK responsible person for those manufacturers located outside of the UK. So who's the UK responsible person? Well, as I mentioned earlier, if a manufacturer is not located in the UK, based in the UK, they need to appoint a UK responsible person, a UKRP. Need to do this as soon as possible, and this UKRP will essentially, just like the EU authorized representative, will act on behalf of the manufacturer, and though I said appoint them as soon as possible, but you also need to, there's a grace period, the same grace period as defined by the grace periods for the device registrations. That also applies as well to the UK responsible persons. And the key responsibilities, as I've mentioned, has mostly been device registration, but also ensuring that the manufacturer has all of the relevant and key documentation in place. And things like the declarations of conformity, their relevant certificates, any relevant certificates that they need to show and demonstrate compliance with the regulatory requirements, the technical documentation. But the responsible person should also keep a copy of these documentation, because it might be requested by the MHRA, by the authorities. And then also, yeah, need to ensure that the manufacturers are following the correct and proper conformity assessment routes. One of the other key responsibilities with UK responsible with the UK responsible person is to ensure there's cooperation with the authorities, and these include things like providing access to some of the documentation, answering questions on behalf of the manufacturer from the authorities, and if there are any incidents or complaints about devices, depending on the agreement that the manufacturer would have with the UK responsible persons, they'll be required to report those incidents and complaints immediately to the manufacturer. And again, like I said, depending on the agreement, may also be required to report vigilance issues as well and cases to the MHRA as the competent authority. So for manufacturers based outside of the UK, generally would have importers and distributors. Importers, distributors can act as UK responsible persons, but they have no obligations under the current regulatory framework. However, for importers of devices, if they are not the UK responsible person, they would need to make themselves known to the UK responsible person, who will maintain a list and register that list with the MHRA. And with regards to labeling, on all labelings, it will be required to include the name and address of the UK responsible person when it's applicable on UKCA marked devices. So we've spoken a little bit about Great Britain. What about Northern Ireland? So just put on your hats if you're not wearing any. In Northern Ireland, we got differing rules, a few different rules, and this is mostly born out of the Northern Ireland Protocol, essentially, which was agreed as part of the EU-UK withdrawal agreement. And essentially, what that has done is established a single regulatory trade customs zone on the island of Ireland. Is essentially meaning that the EU rules will apply in Northern Ireland as they do in other European countries. So as a result of that, we've gone through into the date of application now for the MDR, where it's fully applicable. So that is fully adopted now in Northern Ireland, and also CE marking is required and continues to be essential within Northern Ireland. So Northern Ireland has essentially pretty much the same rules as you have in Europe. And that differs, of course, a great deal to what's happening in Great Britain. But to maintain trade between Northern Ireland or Northern Irish businesses and not hinder them or impact them negatively in any way, there's another provision as well within the Northern Ireland Protocol that says would need to be unfettered access for Northern Irish businesses into Great Britain. So whatever Northern Irish businesses do in Northern Ireland, whatever regulatory requirements that they meet for their devices, their products in Northern Ireland, they can still continue to apply that and place their goods on the market in Great Britain and the rest of the UK. So essentially, what that means is if there's a CE marked device that can be placed on the market by a Northern Irish manufacturer in Northern Ireland, they still have the same level of access into Great Britain, even though it's a different regulatory mark like UKCA that's required in Great Britain. In Northern Ireland, devices are required to be registered. Unlike in Great Britain, where all devices must be registered, in Northern Ireland, not quite, or almost all devices need to be registered. So the only exceptions are for Class 1 or the low risk devices, the Class 1 devices, custom-made devices, and general IVDs won't be required only if they're intended to be placed in the market in Northern Ireland, and if they already have registered their products with another EU competent authority, then there won't be the additional need to register your devices with the MHRA. There's still a grace period as well in Northern Ireland for some devices. Two have passed already. So one of the differences is for the lower risk devices, they need to have been registered from the 1st of January of this year. In the UK, that grace period extends up until the 31st of December, but that's the opposite in Northern Ireland, and those devices need to be registered straight away. And then for the other devices, the higher risk devices, the class 3s, essentially from the 1st of May and 1st of September, we've got the high risk class 3s, implantable devices, and also the medium risk devices from September of 2021. So those are the same timelines as with Great Britain. So, like in Great Britain, UK responsible persons are required if the manufacturer is not located in the UK. If the manufacturer is not located in the UK, but also there's an exception in terms of when a UK responsible person may not be required, and so that will be in a situation where you have an EU authorized representative that is located in Northern Ireland. In that situation, that EU authorized rep can act as your UK responsible person and register your devices with the MHRA as well. But that's one of the exceptions. So UK responsible persons all need to be in place from the 1st of January. And for manufacturers that are based in Great Britain, if they want to have access into the Northern Irish market, then because of the requirement for CE, those Great Britain manufacturers need to have an EU authorized representative as well, whether that EU rep is based in the EU or in Northern Ireland, but they need an authorized representative. And also the devices need to be registered with the MHRA, and that, as I mentioned earlier, can be done by the UK responsible person or the UK or the Northern Ireland authorized representative. And this can be one entity or one organization. In terms of labeling of devices, first of all, the CE mark is required, and UK NI mark, not UKCA. So the UK NI mark will be required if if a UK approved body has been involved in the assessment. The UK NI mark cannot be used on its own; must always be accompanied with a CE mark. But you can use a CE mark device on its own. Right? The UKCA is not accepted in Northern Ireland, and the CE and UKCA mark together, the Northern Irish mark, is not again accepted in the EU. So it's not a route, an option for manufacturers looking for CE in the EU. I spoke about unfettered access earlier on for Northern Irish businesses into Great Britain or into the rest of the UK. So essentially, manufacturers from Northern Irish-based manufacturers can place their UK NI, CE, or CE mark devices on the market in Great Britain as a result of this unfettered access provision in the Northern Irish Protocol. And this will be continued even after June of 2023, when UKCA becomes mandatory in the UK. So Northern Irish manufacturers have that advantage in the sense that they can still, for example, can only be CE, have only just a CE mark and still have access into the UK, into Great Britain after June of 2023 when UKCA becomes mandatory. Also, if manufacturers have registered the devices from Northern Ireland in Northern Ireland, they don't need to do any further registrations if they're placing the product in the market in Great Britain. There's still, like in Great Britain, there's dual marking is acceptable in Northern Ireland alone, and this the combination there is having the UKNI plus UKCA or UKNI plus CE. So there's a sort of combinations that are allowed. Just a general warning again that any assessments conducted by a UK approved body, whether for Northern Ireland, is again not recognized and won't be recognized in the EU. So just a warning there. I put up a table. I'm not going to go through all of this in general, but there's a table here for reference, and you'll get this as well after the presentation. And essentially, it's just a general guide as to, okay, if you're a manufacturer, you want to place product on the market in a specific country, what do you require? So an example I've just gave here is, so if you want to place product on the market in Great Britain and you're outside of the UK, say in the United States, and you want to place your product on the market in Great Britain, do you need to register with the MHRA? Yes. Do you need a UK responsible person? Yes, you do. Do you need an EU authorized representative? Well, since you're based in the US, it's a yes, you do, but until June of 2023, when UKCA becomes mandatory. But if you're based in the EU or in Northern Ireland, the answer is no. And then do you need to place your product in the market do you need CE mark on your device for Great Britain? You don't really, but you can have CE marked devices CE marked devices on the market here in the UK up until in Great Britain up until June of 2023, and then of course after that point UKCA becomes mandatory. And in that situation, would you need UKCA mark? Yes, you would, from the 1st of July of 2023, but UKNI is not required. So I've got two other scenarios there for referring to Northern Ireland and to placing products on the market by Northern Irish and Great Britain manufacturers in the EU. So UK approved bodies, who are they? What are they? A former colleague always used to say, referring to notified bodies, and the same would apply to UK approved bodies, is that we're simple creatures. We do only one thing, and that's conformity assessments. And that's essentially all the approved bodies are there to do, conformity assessments. So we're designated by the MHRA, the competent authority here in the UK, to conduct conformity assessments. And we're doing that against the medical device regulations in the UK. UK approved bodies cannot do any assessments for CE, right? So any assessments done by UK approved bodies, it's only for the market. It's only for access to the market in the UK. We've all know Nando and we've gone on there to check on the status on different notified bodies and what they're designated against. In the UK, that's going to be replaced by the UKM CAB, that UKM CAB doesn't really roll off the tongue like Nando does, but it's a database that contains all of the certification or conformity assessment bodies in the UK and maintained by the UK government. So notified bodies that were previously designated EU notified bodies automatically became UK approved bodies from the 1st of January of this year. That also implies to the medical device notified bodies who automatically, those UK-based ones who automatically became approved bodies in the UK. So you might ask, what about us? What about TMSU? Are we going to be an approved body? Answer is yes, we are. We're in the application process. It's at the moment we are very dedicated and committed to continue to provide access to our customers and access to medical device manufacturers in giving them access to the UK market as well, and also making products available to patients. And so with that, we are applying to become a UK approved body. We're doing this under one of our certification bodies, TMSU BABT, so that's the name we will be called. It's, you know, TMSU BABT is currently an approved body in telecoms and you know and in marine, and we are utilizing that body and expanding the scope to include medical devices as well. So that's the vehicle we're going to use to get our approved body status. We're looking to become a full scope approved body, and I can't give you any further updates at this point in this forum, but I'll ask you to continue to follow up with us, follow us on our webpage, and we will continue to give you updates. But one update I can give you at the moment is we are very pleased in TMSU to have appointed Dr. Manisha Phillips as the head of our proposed UK approved body. Many of you in the audience might know Manisha very well. She's very well recognized and respected in the regulatory field, and she's got you know, over 20 years experience in the industry, from regulatory affairs and conformity assessments, quality systems, and also in working in industry. And also she's worked 13 years formerly at you know at BSI in various roles as a product specialist and also the head of the orthopedics and dental devices group. So we're very pleased to have Manisha join us and to help sort of spearhead the final legs of our journey to becoming a UK approved body. So just a general recap on what we've spoken about today. We've got new rules in the UK since January of this year with the new medical device regulations. You've seen some of the divergence as well between the requirements in Great Britain and in Northern Ireland. And although there's a requirement for using UKCA mark, but the CE mark is still recognized in the UK, and in Great Britain in particular, it's recognized only up until the 30th of June of 2023, after which UKCA becomes mandatory in Great Britain, but CE will still be allowed in Northern Ireland. For all devices now need to be registered with the MHRA. And if you're located outside of the UK, you need to appoint a UK responsible person. So again, just the reminder there that we are applying to become a UK approved body. We hope we can have some news for you soon. So we just ask you to just stay on board with us and continue to follow us. And with that, I'll just like to say thank you very much for your attention and for joining this webinar, and looking forward to hearing from you if you have any further questions. Over to you, Chris.
Thank you, Torun, for presenting on this UKCA topic today. There's been a few questions coming in so far, so just please use the question and answers section in the bottom right-hand side to send in some more questions if you would like. You can always contact us afterwards as well, and I'll give you some details about that a bit later on. But maybe we can start with a couple of questions, Itoro, and maybe I start you off with some easy ones, if you would like.
No such thing as an easy question.
So one question we've got is, will TUV suit, or I guess any notified body, but will TUV suit need to audit us before a UKCA certificate can be granted?
I suppose it depends on the scenario. If the manufacturer has CE already and they've got access to and they've got the CE mark already, then we can do a brief assessment on and verify the status of that CE certificate, and that is the basis of an assessment, and with that can lead to getting UKCA certification. If it's a manufacturer with no certification at all, then it probably just means that you would have to undergo a full conformity assessment, the assessment of your quality systems, assessment of your technical documentations, and things like that.
Okay, thank you. I hope that answered the question. If not, then please feel free to send us the question, further questions on that. Here's another one for you. For the registration requirements, if the Class 1 device is already registered with the HPRA, do we need to also register the Class 1 device with the UK MHRA?
No. So HPRA is the competent authority in Republic of Ireland, and they are an EU competent authority. You've already registered with them, and you're placing your product, and you're intending to place your product in the market in Northern Ireland. Then in that situation, you don't need to register again with the MHRA.
Maybe just to expand to maybe another case or so, but if I wanted to place the devices on the market in Great Britain, would I have to register those then with the MHRA?
I think so, yes.
Perfect, thank you. We've got another one about registration here. What about if the device hasn't got a CE mark yet, but it has received 510K clearance with the FDA? Can I register the device without a CE mark in the UK or Great Britain?
No, not unless it's a Class 1 self-declared device. But no, you can't do that. So I think it's only CE mark devices that are at this moment recognized in the UK.
Okay, awesome. What about, again, maybe about the process for the notified body or TV? Would there be separate surveillance audit be conducted for the UKCA requirements, or will these be combined, or can these be combined with other types of audits?
I suppose it's going to depend on the approved body. So each approved body might have a different procedure. In TÜV, I think we would be looking to combine all of the surveillance activities as much as possible. We don't want to add or put additional burdens on manufacturers.
Okay. I just need to scroll here a little bit. There's been a few more questions coming in. Second. would you mind elaborating on the case of new product registration within the Northern Ireland market? How do I register those? Do I register those with the MHRA?
So all devices will need to be registered with the MHRA. I think the only exception, if it's for Northern Ireland, the only exception would be those Class 1 custom-made devices, which have already been registered in the EU with another EU competent authority. But generally, the answer is yes, you need to register those products with the MHRA.
I hope that answered the question. I'm taking some interpretive license here to read those out occasionally. Okay. And so another question here: can we assume that the UKCA symbol and B number shall be located in all the same places where the CE mark is located, labels, IFU, on products, etc.?
I think it's a reasonable assumption to make, but I don't know what those. I've not seen any guidance in terms of what it's going to look like, but I think it's a reasonable assumption to make that that they would look in a similar manner that we have with the CE with the CE mark.
Okay. Well, we've got good interaction here going on. Quite a few interesting questions. What about, and that's probably a bit later on in the process, but what about, can we transfer the UKCA mark to TÜV Süd from another UK approved body and still maintain our CE mark with the other notified body?
Simple answer is yes. The two different regulatory regimes, and yes, that's possible. Maintaining those separate certificates with different bodies.
Would I guess maybe from a commercial point of view, I guess it is possible, but it may not. Well, it's advisable because I guess both notified body would have to go through or deliver the full QMS assessment. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think it would be up to the manufacturer to decide how they want to maintain that.
Okay. Is it mandatory to have the responsible person and its address on the same label, which also contains the product data? Or is a separate label independent of the label with the product data with the address of the responsible person sufficient?
Sorry, I didn't understand that question.
So I think the questions aren't asking whether the responsible person details need to be on the same label as all the product data, so you know, expiry date and the likes, or whether there can be a separate label for the responsible person.
I think we can await some guidance on that, whether that's acceptable. But I think at the moment the general requirement is that where required, the UK responsible person is you know will need to be listed on the label, the name and address. But whether it can be as a separate label on the product is a question I can't quite answer yet.
Yeah, I think the process is all relatively new to everybody still, and the regulators as well. Yeah. So as we go through the registration process, there will be some interactions with the MHRA to kind of get all the details ironed out, I guess. And but generally they are quite flexible or progressive or whatever you want to call it, and they don't necessarily want to add any additional burden onto the manufacturer, right?
Yeah, I think though it's reasonable to say that there will be some pragmatism that will be applied, but I think we'll just wait to get some further concrete guidance on this.
Yeah. Okay. There's another one here. Will manufacturers be able to obtain a UKCA mark based on the verification of either an MDD or an MDR certificate?
I would say, again, depending on the procedure or the processes within an approved body, the approved body would need to say what they would do. But in principle, yes, it's that's possible to do. The fact that you can do a verification of CE just to show that the manufacturer has undergone CE assessment, conformity assessment, and it complies and it meets the requirements for UKCA. And so with that verification in place, it's possible to gain UKCA certification.
I guess maybe to add, it's also true that verification process is probably going to be easier if the UK approved body is the same as the CE marking notified body, or within the same organization, I guess. So that full access to the technical assessment is available.
That's correct. If it's part of the same organization, it's a lot easier. Because the documentation and the history is already available. It's not so much coming from a different notified body, for instance, where you've got to request further information, and if you don't have it, there are further delays, and there may be additional checks that will need to be made.
Okay, perfect. Just going back to the registration requirements and the grace periods associated to that, and we heard those apply to the responsible person as well. Do those grace periods also apply to the labeling requirements?
So the labeling, I suppose, will require, if you're placing the UKCA on UKCA requirements on the product, and if you're claiming to meet the UKCA requirements, your labeling will need to be compliant as well. So if you're not UKCA compliant yet, then the grace period for the it's a different grace period compared to the requirements for registering your devices or appointing a responsible person.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Right, and I can't keep up with the questions at the moment, so apologies. I apologize right now if you're being missed off. If we don't answer your question, we will get back to you separately. So I think we've got a couple more questions, and then we might just close the meeting for today. So for how long will the UKCA certificate be valid for? Assuming the product is certified before July 2023, or maybe it doesn't make a difference actually.
It doesn't. I think the validity period is like you have with CE is 5 years.
So it follows the same principle, right? That so the maximum validity of a UKCA certificate will be 5 years. Okay. What about access to the technical documentation? And maybe that's a bit outside of the scope of the approved body, but does a UK responsible person, and maybe this is the last question as well, does a UK responsible person need to have full access to the technical documentation?
I think the general guidance is that the UK responsible person should have copies of this. The MHRA may request the documentation or access to the documentation, may have questions, and so so the general guidance is that they have copies of this, but if not, access to those copies or being able to gain access to those copies should be sufficient.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And like we said, some of these things will be clarified further on down the line once the all UK approved bodies start getting going with their manufacturers. And so then the MHRA is likely to publish further guidance with regards to that, and then we all will get a much clearer picture. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you everybody for joining and participating today with lots of questions. I think there's still a few questions coming in as we're finishing off. Like I said, we will be answering any questions that we didn't have time for separately, so you should hear back from us. The other thing is, like Itoro has mentioned, please feel free to contact us. You can send us an email on mhsuk@tuvsuit.com, but I think that email address is on the slides as well. The slides also contain our dedicated website for UKCA for medical devices, because the process for medical devices is different to other regulations. So yes, please send us any questions and we'll try to answer them as quickly as we can. Perfect. I wish everybody a good rest of the day. Thank you for joining and speak to you all soon.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.